It's that time of the month again. It is time for monthly favourites. This video is a selection of the things that I have enjoyed the most in the month of February and wanted to share with you and recommend to you as well. I feel like this is kind of rare for me, and that's I have two favourite films from February, so I thought I'd mention both of them. The first one is Trainspotting 2. I really wanted to see Trainspotting 2, but I wasn't exactly sure what to expect from it and whether I would love it or not, but oh my goodness guys, I adored this film. I went to see it with my friend who lives in London but is also from Scotland and went to university with me in Edinburgh. So it was a really nice experience to share together, as the film is set and filmed in Edinburgh, and like the original, the first Trainspotting film, one of the really special things about it, for me at least, is seeing all of the scenery and locations in Edinburgh. I love that about the film, and I love that just as much about the sequel. In fact, I think not being in Edinburgh anymore, it was all the more special. It made me feel incredibly nostalgic, and is one of the only times since moving to London I felt genuinely homesick, like I wanted to go home. Which is a little bit weird, given that the Trainspotting films are about a group of friends who have drug addictions. Although the sequel just felt perfect. One of the main themes was in fact that of nostalgia, and there was just some beautiful filming and shots where they use clips from the old film as well. And it felt like it struck this perfect balance between nostalgia and growth beyond the first film. I don't know how to explain to you how much I enjoyed this film. I also adore Robert Carlyle, he's one of my favourite actors. I also adore Ewan McGregor, but one of my favourite characters and actors in Trainspotting 2 was the actor who played Spud, Ewan Bremner. Just perfect. All in all, as you can tell, I loved this film, and if you've seen the original and haven't seen the sequel yet, I would highly, highly recommend it. Next film I adored is one that I'm sure will come as no surprise to you if you've seen it, and that is Hidden Figures. I actually saw this, I think, on the last day of the month. I went to see it with Jen, Holly and Ellie, all who have booktube channels, and Holly's lovely flatmate Nicole. This film was just so great. It had impact, and obviously it was covering figures from history who'd been overlooked because of their gender and their race. It's about the black women who played major roles in the calculations that powered the NASA space program in the 1960s. It was also quite an uplifting film. It's one of those films where you laugh and you cry, and it was just wonderful. Plus the costumes, the outfits, they're just beautiful. But next up, of course, I have to mention some books, so I thought I'd mention two that stand out to me from February. I don't think I gave any books 5 stars in February, but honestly, I think the star rating thing's a little bit arbitrary. I think these books are great, and if they sound like your cup of tea, I would highly recommend them. The first one is a collection of poetry, and it's Black Cat Bone by John Burnside. I love John Burnside's fiction, and this was my first time reading a collection of his poetry. I wanted to love it as much as his fiction, and I did fall in love. His prose are beautiful, imaginative, dark and fairy tale-like, so I would highly recommend this. I did a full review of this, so I'll link that down below for you. Along with 2 other poetry collections, I did a 3-in-1 review. And the next one is Sophia Khan Is Not Obliged by Aisha Malik. This is a light-hearted but poignant romance story told from the perspective of a young Muslim woman in London who is writing a book about the Muslim dating scene, also works as a publicist in a publishing house. And this book I just zoomed through. I listened to an audiobook and I think it was perfect on audiobook, so if you're into audiobooks, would highly recommend that one. And I just really, really enjoyed this. It just had me thoroughly engaged and wrapped up in its story, and as soon as I'd finished it, I wanted to start the sequel. Next up, I want to mention a ballet. Now, I actually saw this ballet, I think, the penultimate or last day of January, but I'd already filmed my favourites videos, so it missed out being in January's favourites, and that is Matthew Bourne's Red Shoes. I went to see this with Lauren and Jen, who have channels, and I'll link them down below. They'd both seen Matthew Bourne ballets in the past and had raved about his stuff to me, but this was my first Matthew Bourne ballet, and not only did I love this ballet, but I am so impressed by Matthew Bourne that I will most certainly go and see more ballets by him in the future. I only started going to the ballet like a 1.5 years ago, and I always was a little apprehensive of whether I'd like it or not, but It is definitely worth trying, guys. I really like the ballet now. Red Shoes though is a fairy tale with a film adaptation, and in the film adaptation I believe it follows a ballet production of the Red Shoes fairy tale, and that's at least what the ballet was. So it was a ballet of a ballet, and it was just perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I've never seen the film, so I wasn't comparing it to that, and I also wasn't that familiar with the plot, but I still followed along and just thoroughly enjoyed myself. Next up, I'm going to mention some tea, and funnily enough, this is the same range of tea that I mentioned in my last favourites video. It's the Twinings loose leaf pyramids, and this is their nutty chocolate flavour Assam tea. I mentioned their chai latte tea in my last favourites, and I tried this one out this past month, and oh my goodness, this is amazing. I love this tea. It's like a mixture of tea and hot chocolate. I'm always apprehensive of things like chocolate teas, but this does have that perfect chocolatiness to it with a bit of milk in it. It's really comforting at night time, and it kind of hits the spot if you're craving something sweet, but it's also not disgustingly sweet. I've been drinking it with coconut milk just because that's what I've had around, and it's tasted pretty darn amazing, and yeah, I would highly recommend checking out this tea if you haven't already. Oh, I almost forgot as well, I wanted to mention a comedian slash YouTube channel, and that is Jonathan Pie News. Now, I've enjoyed Jonathan Pie's comedy for quite a few months. I can't remember when I first discovered it, but for some reason I've just been really enjoying watching his stuff recently and going back and catching up on some older stuff I missed. He has a very distinctive style where he pretends that he's a journalist on location, a newsreader, and he basically acts the bits between shots. So imagine a newsreader has just finished up a story, but the camera's still rolling, and they just go off talking on a tangent to say the cameraman or the producer on their headset or to themselves, and it's hilarious but also incredibly clever and just fantastic genuine commentary on UK and world politics, but funny. If you haven't watched his stuff already, it is so good. And to veer off onto something completely different, lastly I want to mention a pair of sunglasses. I was out and about filming for a book break video which has not gone up yet, but you can look forward to, and I could not see the camera or the face of the camera because it was so sunny. The sun has finally come back around, and I didn't have any sunglasses because I broke my sunglasses from last year, so I went into Oliver Bonas and decided to treat myself to some sunglasses, and I got these ones. Are these not the coolest sunglasses ever? These are as expensive as I will go with sunglasses. These were £20. I don't want £100 sunglasses. I will break them. I also don't have £100 to spend on sunglasses. So I felt like I was indulging in these £20 ones, but I feel like I did really well. I'm very happy with these. I feel very cool. And in general, I'm just so pleased to see the return of the sun and for spring to be starting, because spring is my favourite season. So hopefully that means I'm going to have a lot of favourites in March. I think that's enough for this video. Do share with me any of the highlights from your month, and if you have any favourite teas, let me know. And until next time, happy reading. I'll see you all again soon. Bye!